In this video, I'm going to show you how to install an outdoor kitchen drawers, doors, grills, sink, the faucet, everything that you'll need to know to move your outdoor kitchen to the next level. And if you're new to this channel, my name's Josh. This channel is all about DIY to save a ton of money. So be sure to subscribe, ring that bell so you get notification every time I release a new video, and hammer that like button for me. That's all I ask in return for making this video. We got a lot to go over today, so let's get started. In the previous video, I showed you step by step how I installed these concrete countertops, and this is part 3 of a 4-part series from How to Build an Outdoor Kitchen playlist. And if you want to check out that playlist, I'll put a link in the description below. Before installing the doors and drawers on this outdoor kitchen, I'm first going to install the liners for these 3 appliances. The zero clearance liners I want to be flush with the edge of the countertop for the side burner and grill. Now the griddle is actually going to countersink back a little bit from the countertop to be flush with the stone, but I'll show you that more in just a bit. And I thought it was important to do this first because we're going to create some dust when we cut the edge of this concrete in order to create the countersink look. And the reason why I didn't form that up with the concrete is because I wanted to get everything formed, and then these cuts I want to be exactly where the appliance is going to sit. So I wanted to do that after I poured the concrete. So I'm first going to get some measurements here and then cut these out. Here is the zero clearance liner for my 44-inch Napoleon grill that I'm going to be installing. And the measurement that I need is right across the top here. If we take the measurement, we got 47 1/4 inch. And now that's going to be the exact opening width from the concrete countertops cut to cut. And then we got to notch out for this back side here in order to come out around the side of the concrete countertop. The measurement I need to get off the liners is the thickness of this edge. And if I take a measurement here, I got about 7/8 of an inch. So I need to take 7/8 of an inch back off each edge of the concrete countertop for this to countersink flush with the concrete countertop. So now that we got our measurements, we're going to go make the cut. In order to mark the concrete countertop to where I need to make the cut, I'm simply going to take my tape measure. We're going to lay it right across the top here and lock the tape measure into place. So as you can see, we got our tape right here at 47 1/4 hits right here. So with that being said, we need to make sure we're the same distance off each side to make sure we're centered. So whether it's 3/4 inch, 1/2 inch, whatever your measurement is, that's what you need to go with. So we're going to do that now. Now that we're perfectly centered, I'm just going to mark the 47 1/4 here on this edge, and then mark the end of the tape on this edge. Here's the mark we just made for the corner of the liner. And I'm going to measure off this point in order to come back 1 inch or 7/8. I'm going to go with 1 inch to give me a little room for adjustment. So we're going to come back here, and that's going to be the edge of the notch for the cut. So now ultimately I need a square line here to cut this corner out and do that on each side of the edge. And you need to think about your opening too on how you designed it. So if your liner was designed to come up flush this far, then that's what you need to do. So whenever you rough in your opening, you need to think about those things ahead of time. And now I'm going to take my speed square and just make a square line to the distance we need. So that whole corner needs to come out, and I'm going to mark the other side for the same thing. And if you notice, this board here is going to be the edge of our stone, just so you know. So more or less the liner is going to butt up to where the stone is going to be installed. To cut out these notches, I'm going to be using a 4-inch angle grinder with a diamond wheel on it. You could also use a circular saw with a masonry blade. Whatever you have to cut concrete straight, that's what you need to use. And I'm also going to be sure to wear safety glasses, a respirator, and some hearing protection, because you want to make sure you protect yourself when using any power tools. Now that we got our notches made for our liners, we're going to dry fit the liners, meaning we're going to set them into place without any silicone first. Just make sure our cuts are what we want. All right, as you can see, that fit in there the way we want. We are flush with the concrete countertops. There's no gaps here around the side. Our opening was built correctly. So now that looks good, we're going to take it out and place silicone down before installing it. Before installing the liner, I'm going to place what's called flashing tape down here on the bottom of this opening, just in case any moisture does get down here on top of this. It's less likely to rot out over time if you have flashing tape on top of it. So I'm just going to flash right on top of this opening. Flashing tape is more or less just what it sounds like. It's tape that's kind of rubberized to seal openings. Also, what I did here, I let this lip overhang about a 1/2 inch. So after we put our waterproofing membrane on the outside of this outdoor kitchen, we can seal right over it. It's now time to install the silicone right around the edge of this opening, and we want to put a hardy bead about 1/4 inch in, so that way it seals any water from penetrating from the sides and go down into our outdoor kitchen. And we want to make sure we clean this dust off really well. We're now going to sit our liner right on top of that silicone. And I'm going to get flush with the edge of my concrete countertop and just make sure we are down all the way. And you can see the silicone pushing out around the sides. That's good. That means we got a nice bead around the whole bottom of this liner. All right, we are square off the back side as well. That looks good. And now I'm just going to smooth out this silicone here on the side while it's still fresh. Okay, that liner is officially installed. Now we just rinse and repeat that process on the other 2 liners. The zero clearance liners are now installed, and I'm not going to install the actual griddle, side burner, or grill until the silicone sets up more, so we'll do that later. And something I'd like to point out, as you can see here, I countersunk this in to where the face of this griddle is going to be flush with the stone, and that's because these liners had a real thick lip to where it's going to look better to be flush with the countertop, in my opinion. So that's just something I wanted to point out. And now I'm going to remove the ledge that we used to install the concrete countertops before we install the doors. I'm now going to install the stainless steel access doors. Now, something about access doors you need to consider: if your appliances are made of 304 stainless steel, be sure you get your access doors so you match that stainless steel. Believe it or not, I got these on Amazon for way cheaper than I can find them anywhere else. And if you want to check these out, I'll put a link in the description below so you can see them for yourself. So something really important to consider, if you look at the thickness of the edge of this door, it's about 3/4 of an inch. Now my stone at most is 2 inches. It has some variation. It goes clear down to about 1 1/4 inches up to 2 inches. So I'm going to place a 1-inch strip here before I install this door onto the opening. So that way it pads it out to where the edge of the stone will break right in here. And I think it will give it a good depth look. So that way it looks a little more artistic, so to speak. So I'm going to hold this up to the opening and trace the outline, which we got padded out first. I'm first going to place my door right in the center of the opening, just as if we were getting ready to install it. And I placed a center mark here so I know where the center of the sink is. And I want the door's reveal to be center of the sink like so. So that looks really good there. And now I'm going to take my 2-foot level, place right on top of the door. And we're going to make sure we are really level and we're not too far off there. So this side needs to go up just a little bit. And that looks pretty much perfect right there. And you could also go off your door reveal. So if you got to shift it left or right in order to make that look good, you can. So now that that's where we want to have it installed ultimately, and I also like to place the bottom directly on the opening so that way it helps support the door as well. I'm just going to trace right around this edge So that way I know I don't want my padding to be higher than that pencil mark. And something else to consider, you may not have to pad it at all. It depends on what you have for your finish. If this is your finish, you have no stone going on, and you have stucco or something of that nature, then you would simply install your door directly up to it. So it all depends on the look you're looking for. So now we're going to take that out of the opening. Now, as you can see, this pencil mark gives us the exact edge of our door that we don't want our strip to go over. And also, we need to measure the door here. We know this lip is 1.25 inches, so we don't want it more than 1 inch. So I'm simply going to cut 1 inch by 1 inch square strips in order for my padding to work out correctly. I'm going to adjust my miter saw to 1 inch and then simply rip down a pressure treated 2x4 1 inch wide, then rip it down again to give me 1 inch thick. Now have a frame here to pad out for our access door to match the stone better. And now I'd like to point out these are 2 3/8 inch galvanized ring shank nails I use to shoot that on. Any galvanized nail or any exterior screw will work for that as well. Now, something I'd like to point out about this door, as you can see these slots here that's on the side of it, those are for screws, and the screws I'll be using are just standard deck screws. You can use 2 inch, 3 inch, whatnot, as long as they can go through and hold that lip onto the opening. So I'm going to set this right into place now. We're just going to center it up to where we had it before. And it looks like right about there. That looks pretty good. So now that we already leveled it up once before, all we got to do is hold it flush to that board that we just installed up top to pad it out, and it's going to be level where we had it. I'm now just going to pop open these doors, and as you can see, now all we got to do is install the screws into those slots to hold it into place. We got 4 places for screws, 1 in each top corner and 1 in each bottom corner. And you don't want to over tighten these. These are just simple metal lips. And because I left room around it for adjustment, there is some gap there. So just tighten them up to where it's snug with the metal. Don't over tighten it for sure. All right, as you can see, the door frame is installed. Now we just got to install the handles. Here are the handles that were supplied with the door, along with screws and washers to hold the handles on, and a little Phillips screwdriver. To install the handle, it's extremely straightforward. We just line the handle up with the holes here on the door and then place a washer, then the screw into the holes that are threaded into the handle. Now that we have the handles installed, we're going to close it. And as you can see, that reveal looks really good. And everything turned out really nice there. Also, these doors came with a Brillo pad. In case there's any scuffs or anywhere that needs cleaned, you can use that to help clean the door. So, very nice addition to the package. Here is the stone veneer that I'm going to be installing in the next video. And just so you can see the reason why I pad out the access doors, if we slide this right up to this edge, as you can see, the reveal is much better, considering if it would have been clear back here to where the padding was, it would have been countersunk too much into the stone in my opinion. So that's going to give it a nice reveal. So now that we know how to install these access doors, I'm going to time lapse the rest of the access door installation. Now Now that the access doors are installed, I'm going to install the drawers. And an important thing to note about this set of drawers, if you take a look here at the face of it, it is about half the thickness of our access doors that we installed. And something else I'd like to show you, if we take a look back here in the opening, as you can see, we have a ledge here that's actually going to hold the back end of the drawer. I'm now going to tilt this off its back and slide it into place. I'm going to take a scrap piece of the framing that we used earlier to pad out the access doors to get the same reveal here. All right, so that is the same distance out from the outdoor kitchen. So now I'm going to set my stone up here to see what it looks like on the side. All right, if I slide this stone up to it, it looks like it'll actually have a good reveal there if we use the same thickness for padding, because even though it's a little more deep into the outdoor kitchen because the thickness of the framing isn't as thick, the stone has a better reveal so we don't see in behind the actual frame of the drawers. So I'm actually going to go with the same padding we used before in order to install these drawers. And obviously for this drawer, we clearly can't have this 1 inch. We're going to have to shave about a 1/4 inch off of it to work as our padding. Before the unit gets in too far, I'm going to remove the drawers. In order to remove the drawers, all we got to do is compress this little lever that's on the bottom of the drawer, then it'll pull right out. Again, just push down on that little lever here, and then the other one you pull up that's on the other side, drawers slide right out. I'm now going to push the rest of the housing all the way back against the strips we installed. Now that our housing is all the way in, I'm just going to measure back 3 inches in the top and bottom of each corner and drill a hole for a screw. And now, just like the doors, we're going to put a screw in each corner. Now that it's secure into the outdoor kitchen, we're going to reinstall our drawers. And before I shut this last drawer, I'm going to install the handles so I can get them back out. I'm now going to install the trash can holder and another set of drawers here. Same idea as we did with that set of drawers. We're going to place them into place, trace the sides, and then pad it out. And something else I want to show, if you take a look back in here, I did add a few 2x4s as support for the bottom of this set of drawers. I'm now going to install these set of drawers and trash can holder. The drawers and the trash can holder fit in here really nice. So now the only difference between these drawers and then the other set of drawers already installed is we already have the pre-drilled holes on the side, but other than that, the installation is exactly the same. I'm going to install 2 vent panels. The vent panel is 15 inches long and 6.5 inches wide. Now I'm going to install one here towards the bottom, right on the back side of where the 44-inch grill is. And then I'm going to install another one on the opposing side of the griddle. And these can be installed a couple different ways. I'm going to cut out a section in the plywood and then pad it out just like we did the doors and drawers, and then screw it to the padding and do it that way. But you could also just cut out the plywood and install your stone veneer or whatever you're doing on the exterior, and then install this directly over that, whatever works for you. I think it looks better if you have it recessed into your stone veneer a little bit, so that's what I'm going to do. The reason why it's important to install vents on your outdoor kitchen is because if you do have any type of a leak from your propane tanks, if you have them stored underneath your outdoor kitchen, or if you have a leak in any of your connections, you have a place where airflow can pull the air through and take the propane with it. So it's important for gases to escape your outdoor kitchen. So that's what we're going to do, and we're going to install these now. Something really important I'd like to point out, be sure when you install these that the vent is pointing in a direction to where water will come down instead of going into the vent. Most people probably know that, but I figured I'd mention it just in case you weren't familiar with these. And now, because there's going to be a lot of exposure to the elements out here, this is not covered that well compared to the inside of the outdoor kitchen. I'm going to use silicone and silicone around this, and also place flashing tape around this to give it some more security, just because there's a lot of rain that hits this side of the building. So I'm going to do that now. I'm now going to install the sink faucet, and I'm going to give you a rundown on the connections before I actually put it together. But we have our faucet here, and then we have our hose that's going to be the one that comes up out of the faucet itself, and then right here is where they're going to be mixed. And then after we have it together, there is a weight that goes on the hose. You slide this up over the hose, and then you clip this together, and that's what's going to allow this sprayer to pull in and out. And then after the weight's on it, it's going to pull it down like that. And also it came with this trim kit or trim plate. You can put down first if you want, but I want the concrete countertop to come right up to it to give it a nice modern look. Because I'm hooking this faucet up to a water spigot, I have a 3/4 inch GHT connector to a 3/8 inch compression fitting. So that way we can hook our water supply lines that came with the faucet right up to it. So it's going to be a nice installation that way. And if you want to purchase this faucet, it's very affordable. It was only $50 off Amazon. I actually got 2 of them, one for out here and one for in my garage. So if you want to check out this faucet, I'll put a link in the description below so you can check it out for yourself. So first thing we're going to do is hook together our supply lines to the faucet. To connect the water supply lines, I got a 10mm wrench, and as you can see, there's blue paint here that's on the right, then there's red paint here that's on the left, and that's going to indicate the red and blue for hot and cold to go which side. So we want the blue to go here and then the hot to go here, and we simply, this is very simple, just take our water line and just thread it right into this area here, and then once it's threaded in, we're going to tighten it up with our wrench. I'm now going to unthread this off the faucet. Now that my water supply lines are hooked to the faucet, I'm going to insert the faucet into the hole here in my concrete countertops. And if you've seen in the last video, I installed the knockout when I poured this concrete top in order to have this hole here. So something very important. Or you could drill the hole out later using some kind of diamond hole saw or a masonry hole saw. And now I'm going to install this, and I'm going to show you underneath the sink after I have it installed, because it's very difficult to get the camera in there. And more or less, I'm just going to insert this into this hole and then install this part that we just took off in the order in which it was taken off. So we're going to have our rubber seal, the metal plate, and then this piece that threads on. Then we're going to tighten up these screws in order to snug it up. And then we're going to install these onto the spigots underneath. Now that the faucet's installed, we're going to install the drain in the sink and hook it to a P-trap, so that way the sink will be fully functional then. So with this drain, it came with the sink, and I'll put a link to it in the description below. And this is going to sit down into the opening for the drain with this foam seal first. And then from below, we're going to have this rubber gasket and housing come into it like this, and then the sink's going to be wedged between the gasket and the foam, and then we're going to thread this into the bottom of the strainer, and then that's going to tighten it down and keep it really secure. And I'm going to use silicone in between the foam and the metal drain. And then we're going to hook up our P-trap that's going to be hooked to the drain. And in order to hook this up, we're going to take this tailpipe and install a rubber washer first, or gasket here. And then this is going to thread onto here, drop down, and then this is going to enter into the P-trap. And I'm going to make all my connections, and I will show you how to do that. At this point where you cannot see it on camera, but I reached under the drain with the body and threaded it onto the metal part of the drain in order to secure it to the sink. We first place our tailpipe onto the drain, and then we cut it to length in order to fit into the P-trap correctly. And then we simply just hand tighten all of our connections, and that's what's going to seal the water from coming out of the pipes. This is a clip of the weight in action. As you can see, it pulls the water line back down whenever you pull the faucet head out of the holder. We're now going to test the water faucet and make sure it works, and along with that, we're going to check our trap to make sure there's no leaks while the water's running. So we're going to pull this lever. Looks like we got water. That's to change it from the shower to the regular run. Looks like that works fine. Then this looks like it works. We can pull it around the sink, and the weight, as you can see, pulls it back like so. Really nice. So whenever we want to house it back, place it right back in the holder. Holds it where you want it. If you turn this on, this is lukewarm. If you want hot, we turn it all the way back, and that's going to give us all hot water here. And yep, I can tell it's getting hot now. And then if you want solid cold, you pull it this way. Now we're all cold. So that's how you operate the faucet. Really nice feeling faucet for the price. Everything turned out really nice. I don't see any leaks or anything. Not only did this sink come with the drain, it came with the basket strainer, protective bottom grid, dish drying rack, cutting board, and colander, which was an awesome feature to the sink. And the drying rack simply just folds in and out, and the accessories sit right on the ledge. I'm looking here underneath the sink. As you can see, everything looks nice and dry, no leaks. And now these frost-free spigots, I'm going to disconnect in the winter time or fall time, so that way we don't have to worry about freezing. And I'm also going to disconnect this part of the trap so there's no water holding here to freeze and burst the trap. And also here's the weight that's installed that pulls the faucet up and down. So as you can see, nice installation. If you want to see how I've roughed in all this plumbing, check out the video link in the top right hand corner of the screen. Here's the 44-inch Napoleon grill that I'm going to be installing in the zero clearance liner. And something I like to point out is obviously I have the hood off of it, and I also have the grates out of it because it makes it lighter to install and easier to maneuver. So with that being said, I'm going to show you the back and the other appliances to where I got to prepare the back of them before installing them into the zero clearance liners. In the zero clearance liners for the side burner and for the 44-inch grill, they both have holes in the back of them, one on each corner. And one corner gets the gas line and this electrical component wire, and the other side gets the electrical wires that come out. These wires are going to receive the power that's going to power the side burner and the grill at the same time. So they actually work together. So when you turn the knobs on the one grill, it'll turn the lights on and off on both the side burner and the grill. I'll show you more on that later, but that's what I got to do, is prepare this for installation. And just a note, I have a lot of experience hooking up my own gas lines, so I'm going to hook them up myself, but I do recommend hiring a professional for that. Gas lines can be dangerous, so definitely get a professional's advice or hire a professional before doing the installation. Here's the bottom of the side burner. As you can see, it's similar to the 44-inch grill. We have a wire coming out one side, a wire coming out the other, along with the gas line. So I just want to show you the bottom of this before installing it. Here's the back side of the 30-inch Griddle, and this is going to require a 3-foot long gas hose because this is more towards the front to where our connection is made. So then we gotta go back about a foot and then another about 1.5 feet. So I just got 36-inch one. So we're going to connect all this before setting it into place. After I have the propane hooked up, I will be soap testing all the joints to test for leaks before use. The gas line extensions had to be purchased separate. Also, I had to install the mounting brackets for the lid that I'll be installing later before setting it into place, and I also changed out the orifices from the natural gas to the propane before connecting my gas lines. I wanted the ability to shut the gas off to each appliance, so I installed a 1/2-inch shutoff valve at each 1/2-inch pipe going to the appliance. Then I sat the head of the grill into place and fished the wires down through each hole of the liner before totally setting it down. And I did not install the silicone yet. I wanted to test out the grill before doing so and install the stone. I'm now going to install the Griddle lid now that it is set into place, and I did have to purchase this separately. Last but not least, I'm going to take my adjustable wrench and make my line connection to each one of those shutoff valves, and I'm going to do that to all 3 of these appliances. Now, as you can see, we got a beautiful connection from the appliance to the 1/2-inch black iron pipe. In order to power the Napoleon grill and side burner, I must install this module. The wires that came out of the bottom of the 44-inch grill are going to plug into here, and then this side burner plugs into the other side, that single wire that came out the gas line of the 44-inch grill. Control both of the powers to the knobs from either side burner or grill. So if I hit the power button here, it'll light up the knobs on the side burner and grill at the same time. But again, I'll need those extension wires first. So I'm going to go ahead and hook the 44-inch grill up to this module and power it on. As you can see, very straightforward. This wire plugged in the bottom of this. The red wires plugged into each slot here. And then this single wire went here. And then the other single wire hit there. So that's all there was to wiring up the module. Now I just got to place screws in the back onto this wall in order to hold it up off the floor. As you can see, I had the module anchored to the stud, and I also took a couple zip ties and zip tied these wires so that they're all not dangling down onto the ground. I have it plugged into that receptacle that we installed in the framing video. We got power. Nice. We can turn our little knobs on, and then to power on the actual burner, you can hit this electric ignition. This is the wire that came with the side burner, and it's not near long enough as I need to reach the other side of the 44-inch grill. This is where it needed to connect on this end, so I had to get 2 extensions in order to reach this side of the side burner. We got the cord installed. Now we got both the lights on. The extensions now give me the ability to turn the lights on and off from each appliance by hitting the light button from either side. If we turn this on without even having the lights turned on, it lets you know that the propane is turned on. So that's really nice. I like that. So we can know if a burner's on or propane on just by looking out the window. I'm going to show you all 3 appliances real quick just in case you're curious. I got my lid here, and I did have to purchase that separate from the Griddle. And here's the 30-inch Griddle, and this top is stainless steel, so that's going to last for many, many years. Then we got our tray here to catch the grease, and then we can dump out the grease. And this is turn the burners on and off, and that's the battery start here at clicking. And yeah, so this looks like a really awesome griddle. It's one of the best outdoor kitchen griddles you can get. So I'm going to put a link in the description below to all these appliances as well. Now for the 18-inch Napoleon side burner, if we take this off, as you can see, we got 2 burners. I got the tape on here, but that just comes off. And then we got our place to set our pots and pans, whatever we want to cook on. So very nice addition to the outdoor kitchen. And now for every man's dream, a 44-inch Napoleon grill. So we have our thermometer here up top. And then if we lift up the lid, as you can see, there is a ton of space here to grill on. So we got our grates up here, and then we got our grates down here. So obviously that's where you're going to cook most of your burgers and steaks and chicken and whatnot. And also there's a rotisserie piece that came with this. I wanted to test out the rotisserie. As you can see, it's hooked to this motor here on the side. and then it just plugs into your outlet. And the cool thing is you can store all your rotisserie stuff down here in the bottom. And if we want to go clear across the whole grill, we use that extension rod and then hook up more of these, and then we would go right across here, and then we'd have to remove this middle bar. So really cool setup, I like it. Now I'd like to show you this lit, but I gotta install my stone veneer first around this whole outdoor kitchen because my regulator cannot hook up until the stone's on. If you would like to see how I'm going to install this stone veneer on this outdoor kitchen that does not require any type of mortar or cement, check out this video. It'll help you out.